Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Butterfly Effect podcast. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the 20 odd minutes or so of the Directive 8020 Prologue gameplay, which we just received. Jack, Alfredo, mic straight to you, buddy. What do you think of the Prologue so far?
It looks really good. The first thing I'll say is that the visuals look absolutely superb. Even like the stuff that they did with the characters early doors, I really liked. There's things that piqued me interest in terms of the branching. And overall, yeah, I was actually very impressed. And I was thinking, damn, if they're delaying the game to work on it even more, then it bodes, it sort of bodes well, because from what I saw there in that little 13-minute clip, I really liked it, mate. How about yourself?
I completely agree. You know what? I do think this whole thing might be maybe to soften the blow that they have just released the bad news for us that they are delaying the game till next year. So I feel like they had to throw us a bone in some department. And you know what? I'm happy, they've had to delay it for whatever reason. If that means we're going to get a more quality game, I'll take it. Because this Prologue trailer, it's kind of satiated our appetites a little bit. And it does look fantastic. And when you compare it to, say, the other DPA Prologues which we've had, there are a lot of differences. And this one just looks more bigger scale. We're used to seeing kind of characters with a lot less depth, to be honest. We'll talk about the characters in just a sec, but it looked quite open worldy, where you could kind of walk around a lot more. You looked less restricted. Before, we might get the odd QTE and a heartbeat sequence, but they threw in the new stealth mechanics right at us then and there. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, but no, I'm really intrigued by it. Like I say, we'll talk about the characters a little bit. So we have Sims and Carter. Really cool to see some Scottish and Canadian representation, to be honest. I really like the message that Carter looks at of the family. It really flashes them out and actually makes you feel for the Prologue fodder a little bit, because inevitably the only Prologue I've really probably rated has been the Little Hope one, to be honest. And this, I don't know about if you agree, mate, but this feels like it's either on par. Oh, pardon me. It's either on par with it, or maybe slightly better, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. We don't know if this is going to be the end of the Prologue. Now, the reason I bring that up is because, in conjunction with the post, they did say that at Gamescom they're going to be showing episode 1, which is obviously interesting. I know we've heard rumours that there is going to be 8 episodes that this game is split up into. Does that mean the Prologue is episode 1, and that means we've only technically seen roughly half of it? We don't know. Obviously, we'll find out when we get our hands on the game. But going back to the characters, yeah, I've got to say that I really, really liked the characters. Because obviously we played as Carter, looking over at Sims for a second. There's that moments where, because they've really play off one another, she's sort of the more bubbly, more positive-minded character. And I wonder if they sort of did that on purpose, because she could potentially die. Obviously, with her drifting off into space and stuff like that, so it makes it that little bit more hard-hitting. The positive one gets killed. And then obviously looking at Carter, I can't necessarily recall too much depth there, but I think some of the voice acting and performance, particularly when he's running away from the duplicate Sims, and you know what, scrap that for out. You know what, I will say that I found the voice acting very, very good. As far as the mocap goes, I don't think it's quite there. I don't think it's quite got to Quantic Dream levels yet. But the voice acting, for these two characters in particular, I really, really like it, and it sold me the characters and the situation that they were in. So yeah, honestly, all round a very good start.
Yeah, really good. And what I liked as well is that they were mentioning other people on board, oh, maybe we should get Cernan to fix this. Maybe Williams will make us have to make the coffee or whatever. So it's already fleshing out some of the characters in future. And I think what I like about it is that, don't get me wrong, I don't hate that previous Prologues have had the massive time jump, but all the other full games we've had, it's been from way, way in the past. This is just a few days before the people are meant to wake up. And I think them being an extension of the crew keeps kind of the Prologue a lot more grounded, a lot more closer. I know a lot of people wanted some like they had really wild imaginations of what you could do for this prologue. But I don't know about you, mate, but I just quite like the fact it's on the ship and it takes place a few days prior.
I've got to say, I do agree, it's refreshing, and I think overall that's what I've got from this clip, that we've seen, is it feels very, very refreshing. It has a certain cinematic quality as well. I think about when they first walk out into space and you follow the camera and you just see like the vastness of the environment, some of the camera angles when they're out there, which I do think makes a nice change. Excuse me, does make a nice change, because when you think about the games we've played, Man and Medan, narrow corridors, Little Hope, an oppressive fog, you're underground in House of Ashes, albeit you do get that big sort of, arc bit at the end, and The Devil in Me, you're in like hotel corridors. Sure, we've got to see the rest of the game. It could be predominantly on the ship, but having that moment of going outside and hearing like the little audio things of like the boots on the sort of the top of the ship, and like them talking to each other via the radio and being able to explore and look at the stars and stuff, it was very, very good, and it does stand out very much. So again, it builds on what I was saying, that it bodes well. Like I do have more hopes for this game now than I did previous.
Yeah, I agree. I do think as well, because obviously this game is taking inspiration from Event Horizon, Alien, and The Thing. 3 really good films, really good sources to kind of get your inspiration from. But I will say though that like the idea of like having a game in space did worry me a little bit, because playing Telltale's The Expanse did leave a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, and I was kind of unsure how it would be. But I really enjoyed it. Like, the ship looks great. I love the fact that they've updated the displays. Like, if you examine objects, it kind of like has that sci-fi feel, like when you just simply hit A or RT to catch, your crewmate in midair and stuff. So yeah, like, I'm really fascinated by the film, and yeah, I can't wait to sink my teeth into it as well, to be honest, mate. One thing I wanted to mention about as well is that the person who did the gameplay would often hit the pause menu, so you could see that we still have like the classic pause menu with the face where the relationship statuses are there and kind of like their character traits. But also it kind of like touched into this rewind feature a little bit, which we kind of got a bit of a glimpse at a few weeks prior. I did find it quite funny the way that like he chose the good thing to do of like saving your crewmate, Sims, and then he rewinded to let her go, and she had that really harrowing death. So yeah, like it's really cool to see the rewind feature in play. I know certain people won't be using it. I don't think I will for my pure blind playthrough. But what did you make of sort of like some of the stuff you saw in the pause menu in this rewind feature?
We must have watched different clips, mate, because I watched the Supermassive one like via their Discord. So I don't know if like another one's gone out. I've not seen anything about the pause menu, and that was actually really refreshing what you were saying then, that he saves Sims, because in the one that I watched, he failed the QTE, for when she has like the sort of Jetta things and she starts coming back towards him. He failed the QTE and she drifted off into space. So that was one thing I was going to ask myself, was all like what happens if you do manage to save Sims, especially with like the duplicate later on? Does it mean that the duplicate just then kills her and then takes over and then goes after Carter anyway? So I can't necessarily comment on the pause menu or anything like that, but as far as like the rewind feature goes, I'm in the same camp. I'm not going to use it. I'll play like the special mode that they've announced. I can't remember what it was called now. But yeah, like if I'll go with what you say, mate. If there's like relationship bars and traits and stuff, I'm all down for that.
Oh, that is fascinating. We're getting Jack's fresh reaction on the channel then of the rewind feature, because yeah, in the version I saw, you actually had like Sims and Carter back on the ship, and you're having like a kind of a conversation through your mics or whatever, as you sort of fix separate parts of the ship or you're doing your tasks. And then she stops talking, and that's when you go to check on her and you see the duplicate. So I wonder how it played out in yours, if you just stumble across the duplicate or whatever. So that is really fascinating, and it's actually cool that I got to see sort of different versions.
Well, I can tell you right now. So basically, if you fail the QTE, she drifts off into space, and she does have some nice, it comes back to the voice acting actually. Some like quite sort of sad words. She sort of says that she's really scared, and Carter says that he's really scared as she sort of drifts off into the distance. And then he falls to his knees, and obviously it comes up death. on screen, which actually is a nice little thing to talk about as well. The fact that we actually now get on screen confirmation of when a character dies. But he falls to his knees, and then it's just a cut to him sitting in like a random room, and then that's when he hears like a noise, I think, like some sort of scream, and then he goes out there, and then that's when he just sees like the duplicate standing in the hallway.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, because I was really intrigued, because I was actually wondering maybe the right answer is to let her go. That way you're kind of eliminating the threat that's on the ship. So it turns out she's there regardless, and this purple substance is taking effect anyway. But yeah, no, really fascinating. Seems like there's quite a lot of branching in the prologue, which we're not really used to in a prologue. It's usually, do you want Def A or Def B sometimes? So yeah, that is super neat. I'm really fascinated by that, because it looked like there was a ton of branching, like based on what you could say could have different variations. At one point it said that, oh yeah, you covered 39% of the nodes, even though they played quite a chunk of it. So it's like there's a lot of the prologue we still haven't seen, which is really cool, and I'm sure for completionists out there it'll be really fascinating to go back and find all of them to see what differences there are. Another sort of thing, I've kind of got two more bullet points that I want to talk about, one being the stealth and one being the narrator we get at the end. I'll start with the stealth, mate. This is a feature that we knew we were getting, and I was really fascinated by it. What are your early impressions of it?
Yeah, I really liked it. Obviously, it's something that's very new to these games. It feels like it's something that was necessary, though. It felt like, especially since The Devil in Me, that there was that evolution to head towards this type of gameplay, although I don't think it should become the prominent thing. I feel like on the sticks should still be used sparingly. But yeah, I thought this was okay. Like, it really was there. It did look simple, I will say that, like to get round Sims, but I feel like I'm going to forgive that because it is the prologue. Like at this point, as we've seen with the other prologues, it is very much about the player getting used to the game mechanics, and it's not necessarily going to be life or death, or, you know, like at least meaningful life or death. So I really liked it. I love the fact as well that the flashlight thing, like it popped up at the side, that if the enemy sees the flashlight, they can then identify you, and who knows what happens after that. Which then leads me to think, okay, if you do get spot, does that mean you can die? Which means you can get some like unique deaths in like certain stealth sequences. Obviously the crouching and moving as well. So yeah, like overall, I didn't expect it to be brought in at the prologue. I thought it would be later on in the game, but I guess it does make sense to.
Nice little surprise. And to hark back to the branching a little bit, it was cool that, like, in the version I saw, he succeeded the stealth, and although it ends brutally for Carter, he was able to relay a message, and it seems like that's going to have a bearing for like the rest of the game. So he might have kind of like helped out the future crew that are going to wake up anyway, so it's really cool to see that. And I do agree with the stealth. Like, I guess one little nitpick I might have is the fact that on the version I saw, it looked like the brightness was really low. Like I could barely see what was going on. I don't know if that is kind of a ploy to make it more tense, more horror-y, more challenging. But I do hope there is like kind of the brightness setting where it doesn't look as dark as it did on the version I saw of events. But yeah, like it's really cool. I didn't expect it to be this early in the prologue. It seems like it could be a really big feature later on, and it's kind of like the tutorial-esque thing where it throws you sort of like the early versions so you can kind of adapt to it then and there. So really cool. I'm really eager to see what this feature can bring us, to be honest. So I am with you on that one. The other thing I wanted to mention to you, mate, what did you make of this narrator at the end? It seemed like when we had the brutal ending, you kind of had like the camera zoom into kind of like that hole in the ship where the purple substance was growing. And we almost had this like Augustine-esque from Frank Stone narrator talking about how we all end up dying anyway. Pretty morbid stuff, not gonna lie. But my question to you is, what did you make of it? And does this basically confirm 100% that the curator's gone?
My answer's going to be short and swift, mate. Again, we've seen a different clip. I did not see that at all. This whole narrator stuff. So I think I'm going to have to go and watch your clip, because there's bits here that you're mentioning. I'm like, wow. So, but obviously, to react on what you were just saying, I mean, potentially yes. We do know that Supermassive are going off and doing stuff in the background. Is that because they want to like weave the curator in? But even if they didn't, it's okay for me. Like, if they were to bring the curator back at a later point, I'd be cool with that. If it's just for this game that we're going to have like a unique narrator and Augustine like figure, then I'm on board with it, you know, because I thought Augustine was a really good one in Frank Stone. So yeah, I'm all for it.
No, I think I'm in a similar camp to you, to be honest. Any sort of nitpicks, mate? I know you mentioned the mocap. Anything else that you kind of have a bit of a gripe or a concern with, maybe?
Nothing's really coming to mind. No. There was one thing I really did want to bring up, and it is a little bit of a plug to another video that we've done. But that opening scene, mate, where Sims and Carter like talk to the computer, or the Oracle as it's called. I just wanted to point out, because this is a video that we did 2 years ago where we asked AI to predict Directive 8020. I do encourage you guys listening to go back and watch that video, because it called the name of the AI being Oracle. And there are certain things in that video as well that talk about like how they visit an asteroid belt, and obviously like at the start of this prologue it got hit by an asteroid, and there's just like certain things I'm like, damn, like the similarities are actually really, really close, and I wonder if like, maybe AI has actually called it. So do go check that out, guys. But to come back to your question, mate, I can't think of anything. The audio was good, the sort of setup was good, the branching, you got a bit of stealth in there. Yeah, I think it's just that little bit of mocap, I think, that maybe I noticed.
No, for sure. I mean, to hark back to your point about the Oracle and how it called it. So yeah, incredible. ChatGPT, what a win. That, or someone from Supermassive Games is listening and watches our content and takes their ideas from our channel. If so, I think there should be a character in a future game called Liam who's got, like, you know, a punk girlfriend. That would be pretty sick. But, you know, that's just in case, you know, they are spying on us. I have to throw that in. But in terms of gripes, the only thing I really have is I'm unsure about this villain, because, like, you'll have, like, the Sims character who's clearly possessed, comes at you with, like, you know, the cattle prod taser thing, and then is later on like, oh, come out, I'm not going to hurt you or anything. And I'm wondering what their behavior is, like whether they're supposed to copy and blend in, or like it just seemed very like back and forth to the point like, well, I'm not going to go out, I'm not buying your words, you tried to kill me earlier. And then obviously she does kill. So like, I hope there's a consistent behavior, and I do hope that it's not just tailored to kind of suit the moment, like these alien creatures do whatever they want to suit the narrative at that given time. So I have a few question marks and concerns around that. But otherwise, though, that is just one little nitpick. I'm still really pleased with this prologue, and I'm just so intrigued to see what else we're going to get. And yeah, any other kind of breadcrumbs or teasers we get, I'm going to lap them up, mate.
I think to follow on from your point there, I think what I'm looking forward to the most, if it's going to be the case, is I want to feel that paranoia. I don't want it to be obvious when someone amongst you is the alien. Like literally what we were talking about from watching John Carpenter's The Thing. I do want there to be moments where it just comes completely out of nowhere that it's among you. I don't want it to necessarily be X character sees a duplicate of themselves and it's like, oh my god, I'm seeing myself, and then you got to run away from it and you got to stealth past it and stuff. Of course there's going to be a little bit of that, but I want that paranoia feeling. So I really do hope that they tap into that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would have been more effective if this Sims character was like, oh no, I'm fine, sorry about that. And then like kind of like maybe lives with you a little bit, and maybe you start seeing some like behavioural patterns which aren't quite Sims. Maybe she's not as positive and upbeat as she once was. So I feel like they might have missed a trick a little bit. But you never know, like we've only seen a snippet. It might be there's so much more to this that, you know, we're yet to unpack. So yeah, but Jack, anything else to mention?
One final thing, I wanted to get your take on like what your choices would be. So I don't know, because obviously we have seen different clips, so I don't know if these are going to mean anything to you. But there is that choice, isn't there, where like if you run into Sims in the hallway, you get to like approach or run. Now, obviously the guy in the clip approached and then he got a cut to his face and it ended up into a run sequence anyway. So I know personally, when I play my blind playthrough, I'm just going to run full stop. So there's that choice. The other choice I wanted to ask about is the AI. Now, I do want to come on to this, and it is partly because of the AI video that we made. I have a hunch that the AI might be able to be taken over by the life form as well, as like an early prediction. And when it says at the start, oh, we're going to have to reboot the system to check if there's any more errors on board, I think the player in my clip chose to like go with the reboot. But there is that other option where you can delay the reboot as well, and I think that I will do that in my blind playthrough. So if you have seen these choices, mate, what was your sort of rationale, or what do you think you'll do?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, prior to our conversation, I was thinking that when you're out, side, on the ship, that I was thinking, oh, we better let Sims go, because bringing her in, she's infected and then she kills us. So I was thinking, oh yeah, maybe you should have the touching scene where you let her go to save Carter. But it turns out he can die regardless. Now, I do know in the clip I saw, there was a delay, and that has a bearing on the choice. So, I almost want to hold my tongue a little bit for you, mate, because I kind of know sort of what happens if there's a delay, I guess. So unless you go back and see the clip yourself, mate, I'm gonna zip it for now, I'm afraid.
Okay, all right, fair enough, lad. I mean, I probably will go back and watch it, but we'll see.
Yeah. But guys, tell us what you thought of the prologue. Tell us what you think it means. Are you excited to get stuck in Directive 8020? And tell us what your concerns are for the game. If you like content like this and Directive 8020, other Supermassive Games, I strongly recommend you subscribe and look for our channel. We've got plenty more videos on this, and we will be covering any future videos that we might get as well. But otherwise, guys, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the future.
Catch you later.